Hello, hello. Welcome to another podcast of Friends on the Other Bus. If you are watching us on YouTube, here we are. If you are listening to us on Spotify, hola. I have got a lovely guest with me today. I have got the lovely Mr. Stephen Black, clairvoyant, # psychic artist. Would you like to be called that?
You can call me whatever you like.
Can I call you Beryl?
If you want to, Mel, that's fine with me. As long as it makes you happy.
Thank you for joining me today. This is a
you're
real
ever so
pleasure for
welcome.
me.
You're ever so welcome.
Thank you
It's
very
nice
much.
It's nice to be around nice people. That's what I would say, Mel. And I've got a lot of respect for you. And when you asked us to do a podcast, I thought, yes, I'm going to do one with you. And to be honest, and I'm not just saying it like I know a lot of people will, but I've actually been looking forward to it.
Oh,
Believe it or
so
not.
have I. So have I,
There you
believe it
go.
or not, because it's nice to have. It's nice to be connected to energies that you connect with and that you know that you work alongside well with, but also to have something really interesting for people to listen to. And this is what we want to do today, because your work's
Definitely.
amazing.
I do try my best. I do. I mean, it is hard. I'd imagine anyone who's a professional medium, working clairvoyant, whichever way you want to call it. I do think it is a very, very difficult job, because you've always got to perform and you've always got to prove people that you write what you're saying. You know what I mean? But I do enjoy
it. An underrated craft, I think, for the real mediums. Yeah.
I do enjoy it, but sometimes it is hard. I'm not going to, make it glorified, because it isn't. Like, you get a lot of people saying a lot of the time, every time I go live, like on TikTok, Facebook, wherever, and they'll say, hey, I would love to be able to do what you do. And I say, well, you would from the outside perspective, but when you're dealing with people who's lost, like, loved ones and children in horrendous ways, it isn't all as nice as what you would think it is. Because obviously, let's be honest, we don't I don't think I've ever had anyone come to me because their life's been beautiful and smelt of roses, and they've got a holiday home in the south of France. It's people who's like, all the time, which I'm not whinging about it, but they're struggling, and they're looking for ways to find some sort of comfort through connecting with the loved ones, and obviously we're the ones who's got to deal with it. Did you know that if you're a qualified counsellor, not that I've had anything to do with counselling or psychology, but do you know that you have to be counselled by somebody else? Like, I don't know if it's something like, once a month or whatever.
That. I can absolutely believe that. And do you know something? What people don't realise with what we do is, it is the most, it's as physically draining as it is mentally draining. So it takes it out on absolutely every single inch of your being. And you're obviously an empath as well, because we do what we do. But it is the most draining thing. Now, you do shows, you do loads of shows, absolutely loads of them. I have so much admiration for you, because I've done them, but not for a long time. You are shocked at the end of them.
I've just had a message this morning of a girl saying, what was it? You read me daughter or something, and I never got a reading, and I'm absolutely gutted the other night. And I was like, what do you want us to do? Like, I'm against the odds anyway. Obviously, all the people who come to see us, I can only read who, like, spirit takes us to. But the difference with me, which I get said a lot of, is like people will say, I've never been to a show like yours, and I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, and they say, well, just the drawings and the way that you bring people forward through. Because obviously, I'll take photos of, like, this blanket that I use, which I first ever started off, which I'm sure we'll be talking about later on in the show. But I also draw, like, around the audience as well. So if I see, like, somebody's, like, well, I don't know who his loved one is, but I'll see somebody's face, and I'll draw and highlight it, and then you'll have someone who'll put the phone up who's got a photo of the person I'm drawing, and then when you put it side by side, the reactions of the audience every time, they're just like, you can hear them like, oh my God, that is definitely her. And if I'm doing a show, like, say, in a local area that's like, say, a small village, obviously you find that a lot of people know that person, so the reaction's even greater because they actually know who it is. You know what I mean? And I've had a few times when I've come out of shows and, like, I've packed up because I've got a lot of equipment, like a hell of a lot that I use. Like, I have like this 3 meter by 3 meter projector screen. Then I've got my HD projector that then plugs into me iPad Pro, and then obviously I've got lights and camera, action, everything. And at the end, like, it takes me sometimes at least half an hour to pack stuff up and get it away and load me car up and stuff. And you'll find, like, barmaids or like people who work in the maybe if it's a pub, club, whatever, and they'll say, Stephen, you know, like everything you said about that John tonight, sorry, was amazing. And I'm like, what do you mean? She says, we know him. He used to come in here all the time. And when you said this and you said he used to dance like that or whatever, like, it was just mad because it felt as if you were bringing him back to life, which is a really nice thing to have. I mean, I was at Hartlepool, not last night, the night before, and I read this girl who'd lost her husband, this lady, and like specific details that I told her that there's just, you know, no way this is what we do. There's no way I could have knew. She was so upset. Sorry. And at the end, like, of the night, she actually come over to us and she says, can I give you a hug? And you know when somebody hugs you in a meaningful way where you know that it's really helped them, it's like touched their hearts. It was like, it gives you that like sense of like comfort, like knowing that against all the adversity and the critics and skeptics, because, you know, yeah, I had you can see people with like stone cold faces staring at you. Like, some people probably giving you a bit hate because you're not going to them. I didn't know, but you're looking and you're thinking, like, I'm trying my best here, but, you know, some people will never, ever, ever be happy and satisfied with whatever you give to anyone unless it's for them personally. But when you're reading somebody like that and you can see, like, their appreciation and the gratification from them that, like, they've had something, like, so nice that given to them that, like, is going to help them move forward with their life, it does make it more rewarding, definitely.
It takes everything that we've been through, everything that people say to you, everything that happens, it completely it knocks that back and you forget everything, don't you? It's the happiness knowing that this is why we do what we do.
Without a doubt.
But one thing I learned a long time ago is I can't save everybody. I can't help everybody. And that's the biggest...
I've learned that.
Oh, it's hard. Especially when they've lost children. That's the most heartbreaking thing.
It's switching off as well, I think, with me anyway. When I go live, say for an example, and I remember you saying you had it up to like 1,000 people watching you one TikTok live, and the comments is just...
It was like that.
You know,
it's horrendous.
And everybody's like, well, why can you not see my message? And it's like, why can they not understand that, like, there's only one of us and there's like 1,000 people commenting? But I'm starting to like learn now to like, where I didn't know what it is, but like I've always felt like I've had to and I still do it when people messages, like on my Facebook page, like I'll reply to everyone, like regardless of whatever it is. I reply to people unless it's abusive and it's the point of replying, but I'll always reply to people. But I used to be like that. I tried to be like that when I used to go live on Facebook and TikTok and whatever. But now I've learned that you've got to like switch off from at least, I would say, 70-80% of the comments, because you've got to pretend you haven't seen them, even when they're copying and pasting them. And I think that's
true. That is so
in real
true.
life. Because I used to try and like reply to people, and I used to get myself agitated, and like I'm portraying myself to be someone like as if I didn't like him the way he's because you know we've all got a limit, haven't we? And I think when you're trying to absorb everybody's comments and you're trying to help everyone, as you say, save everyone, you learn at some point that you've got to stop, and then you've got your fake accounts.
Well, that's just another story in itself. I will tell you what I did to some of my fake accounts, but I'll tell you off camera, and it's worked. What I just want to say is that I actually respond to every email I get. I respond to every message I get. I can't help everybody, and I'll be very honest and say, I can't help you, but I'm so sorry for your loss. Because if you read everybody that messaged you at 2:00 in the morning because they needed guidance, you would never have a life. You wouldn't. And we learned that a long time ago. And we have to step back. I don't know about you, but you have to step back from TikTok every now and then and have a week off and just have a break. Yeah. People, we have to fill up. So let's go right back to when you were a child. Tell me, where did it all start for you then?
Well, I'm probably a little bit different. I know I'm different anyway, but I'm a bit different to like your sort of run-of-the-mill stereotype. Like, oh, well, I was a child and I started seeing people and this, that, and the other. What happened with me? I lived with me nana. I lived with me nana, and me nana was more, I would have said, like me mum. And she brought me up until I was 10. and she was an amazing woman. I'm not just saying she's an amazing woman like everybody does, because Nana, like my Nana was an amazing woman. And it's like, you know, you didn't appreciate, I think, some things in life until they're not there. It's a lot of it is the case. But what happened was, when my Nana passed away, it was 1988 when she passed. And I obviously had to live with my mum then, and I didn't have the best of upbringings. I would say personally. I mean, I don't want to sound as if I'm on X Factor or something, given this sad story, but it is what it is. And I could have quite easily had went down a bad route, very easily cut off, because of the area that I was in at the time and what everyone was up to and stuff. But I didn't. And then fast forwarding, I left school with no qualifications. I nearly went into a special like school actually to learn, because I couldn't read and write. When I was about to leave the juniors and go into the seniors, I had to speak. So some woman come in, I think she was a social worker or some specialist, and that asked us to do like a drawing and like try and read some words and stuff, because they were assessing us on whether I was going to be going to a mainstream school or not. But I did end up going to a mainstream school by a guy who was my teacher at the time, which is a crazy story about when I was learning to write my book. The girl helping us to write my book. And I was talking about this teacher who supported and helped me get into the mainstream school. And within that same week, right, this was only 3 years ago, I've never heard or spoke to him ever since I left. I mean, you're talking when I was, 11-year-old, 12-year-old? He'd only added us on Facebook. Like the week I was talking about him, about this book, that's a never-ending story. It's like the Great China Wall. It still hasn't been finished, and it's very stressful, obviously, with his being dyslexic, as you can understand. But that's another story. I want to jump into loads of stuff here. But what was I saying? I ended up going into the mainstream school, but I had to go into a specialist class with a teacher called Mrs. Pryke, who, if I ever seen her, I would give her the biggest bunch of flowers ever, because I couldn't thank her enough for the time and effort she put in. I know she's obviously could say, oh, well, it's my job, but you know when you know somebody goes that extra mile, and they're like...
You know they want to do the job.
Yeah, she was gone around the world for me and helped us, and I'll always be forever grateful for that. And then I got really interested in carpentry and joinery, but my granddad used to help us doing that a lot when I was younger, and I always loved building stuff, and I still do. I've got all of the tools and stuff to build stuff. I've built what I'm sitting in now, actually. But anyway, so I done carpentry and joinery, and I was learning that. Now, it never ever at any point arose that I had something different to anyone else, and I never felt I felt a bit of a loner, and I used to love walking along the riverside. Like every Sunday, I used to put a backpack on, yellow and black backpack I used to have, and I used to put some sandwiches in and some water or whatever, pop, and I used to walk by myself, just me and my dog, a Staffordshire Bull Terrier Jason, which is the first thing that I ever seen in a spiritual photo, which I can show you later. But me and him used to always walk through the woods, and we used to go all the way along the Washington Wildfowl Park. All Sunday, I used to take us hours by myself, and then I would come back, which, being a kid, probably whatever I was, 12, 13, 14, probably was a bit strange that you just go off by yourself and you weren't kicking a ball, you know what I mean? And you're walking through woods, which I found quite soothing, which I'm sure you'll understand.
Completely.
But I never ever, I always felt as if people were around me. I always, like, if I went to the toilet...
Never felt alone.
But it was a scary feeling. Like, it wasn't scary now, but it was scary at the time, because I was unaware of why I was feeling as if there was people around us. But it was always like, if I was in areas by myself, like if I was walking through the woods, sometimes I'd feel as if somebody was around us. I just felt somebody was watching us. Or if I went to the bathroom. And then I done a course in carpentry and joinery, like, you know, when you have like a release like day, like at school, like on a Wednesday or whatever, and I started building things and stuff. And then when I left school, I went into full-time carpentry and joinery, and I was working building banks, building bulletproof screens and doors for a bank. Then I had an allergic reaction to that, so I left. Because my face and everything swelled up. The doctor advised that I'd best off leaving it. So I was struggling to breathe and stuff at the time with all the ward, but it was this MDF, medium density fiberboard. Then I went into the army, the parachute regiment. I worked in a factory, then I went into the parachute regiment. I was in for just under a year, and I got shin splints. really bad. Didn't know what they were at the time. Like, my legs were gone numb and everything. Because as you can imagine, the parachute regiment's one of the hardest regiments to get in. Because I just wanted to do something with my life. So that I was in there for just under a year. I got medically discharged. Then I was working in a few different factories and stuff. And then I started studying jiu-jitsu, but I'd done bits of karate and boxing, kickboxing. And then one of my friends like introduced us to doing like jiu-jitsu, where MMA, like mixed martial arts, or as it's related to the UFC, which is a show. It's not a martial art, it's the UFC's Ultimate Fighting Championships. Had just sort of like hit the like shores of England. Like, it was big in America, but it just started getting like popular slowly in England. And I started learning and studying about that, and I got really into it because I've always loved jiu-jitsu because I'd done it at school when I was 13, and I always missed it. And I started studying jiu-jitsu, and I started getting I thought I was getting really good at it. And I started teaching a little bit when I got my black belt. And then like people were like, the classes were getting bigger and bigger. So I was like, this is like really taking off. And like, I just had this knack. I don't know if it's because I was struggling to understand and read and learn things. I don't know if that was why I become maybe good at teaching, because I could explain things like better because of the way that I had to learn things. But people were like picking it up, and I had a lot of lads competing in different shows. I ended up having them fighting like I had a few lads fighting down London, where we had to travel down. I had to get a flight actually to Bath, where one of my lads was a heavyweight fighter, and I've had a lot of like success in that. A lot of lads have done really well in the fighting careers, like through me coaching them. Fast forwarding, things never still happened with me, like clairvoyantly. But one of my good friends who I become really close to off the back of teaching him, my friend John, he was getting married. He was getting married in where he was having a stag do in Ibiza. And I was about to get married as well. I think I was later that year, to obviously my wife now. And I think it was the first time in my life, if I was honest with you, where I felt a sense of calmness, because I was always on edge all the time. Maybe it's because of my upbringing or whatever else. But it wasn't until I like met my wife, and the calming that she give me, which you probably didn't even realise.
Completely understand where you are coming. You feel like you've come home.
Yeah, and like I had this like prick, like this energetic like feeling on my skin. I know this sounds really corny, but whenever I was around her, I had this feeling. But this was just a feeling of differentness. I cannot explain it, but I felt so calm. And when I met Paula, that's when I just started feeling this, like, I felt different. I just felt as if you said, like, you come home in some way or what. And then I went away to my friend's stag do in Ibiza, and my wife was actually dropping us off. Wife to be, sorry, was dropping us off at the airport. And I was there for 5 days, but lads didn't take any notice of how long they're there or whatever. The holiday was booked. I paid whatever it was. John sorted it all out. That was that, you know. And Paula was like, "You there for 5 days or 6 days or whatever?" I says, "I didn't know." And one of the I used to do this women's fitness class, and one of the girls had texted us, and I says, she's like, text us saying, "Am I really gone away?" Of course I'm gone away, like joking on. But she hadn't even messaged us yet. I hadn't even had that message, right? And I gets to the airport, and then my phone pings, and I looks at the message that I had this deja vu of, as best way to describe it. Yeah. And I went through my phone, and I was like, "That's weird." She went, "What do you mean?" I says, "That girl's just messaged us saying, 'Are you really gone to Ibiza?' But she hadn't actually messaged us when I was having this conversation with you, gone that she's just messaged us." But when it's just so quick, so you forget it. And like, oh well. And then but I went in the airport and stuff. Said, "I'll see you later," and all that. And then off we went. And then we got there, you know, all the lads drinking on the plane and whatever else. You know, I think there must have been about 25 of us. And they had, in this apartment where we were at, right, they had bunk beds. And there must have been, I think there was 24 of us or 19, I don't know. But it was a big number of people in one room. And there was one bathroom. And I was like quite annoyed about it. And I was like, "Listen, they're ripping us off. They're charging us with X, Y, and Z for this hotel, and they've just flung all of us in one room, which cannot be allowed, really, in my opinion. So we went down to reception, and like they were like trying to get us to wait while the manager come and all that, right? And this girl came in. She was from Ireland, and she was very drunk, and she was like, "Oh man, just have a laugh, man." Like she was trying to be nice, but she was being like. She was trying to be nice, but, you know, when you're, like, annoyed, it's not really, you know, you just want to go and look. Aye. Yeah. I said, and then, we'll come back and all that, the lads. And I says, no. I says, if we leave this reception now and walk away, I says, they'll just expect it from us because they're obviously doing it to everyone. And anyway, they give us free breakfast. Nobody had them because I was drinking. But anyway, that was that. So this girl, right, I think it was the second night where we were going out. And I was sitting on this table, like, with all the lads, and there was her and her friends and whatever. And I just started seeing, she was from Ireland. She's a lovely lass called Kelly. And I started seeing where she lived. And, well, I didn't know at the time. I just visualised, like, I just started seeing this kitchen. And so I turned to her and I says, do you live in this house? And like, the roof slopes on this certain angle. And she went, aye. And I says, is there an island in your kitchen and that? And blah, blah, blah. Like, so I remember this. And she went, yeah, I have, yeah. And she jokingly turned to us and she went, all right then, what's me nana's name? And I got this, like, letter J, and I went, Jane. And she jumped up off that table, right, honestly, and knocked the drinks. I mean, she really freaked out, which then obviously shocked me because I was like, I never want to upset anyone. And I was like, And she went, how do you know that? And I went, I haven't got a clue.
Scooby-Doo.
No. And then off I went. We went out and, you know, everyone's drinking. Like, and then I woke up in the morning, right? And all the lads were like looking at us, like weirdly. Because some of them I didn't have a clue who they were. Because obviously they were my friend John's mates, but they weren't mine, you know what I mean? And they were like, how did you know that? And I'm like, what? They went, you said to me last night, blah, 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 you know, and then you said this, and then you said that, and then you said it, and I was like, I don't know. They were gone, honestly, you tell him this, and they were like trying to convince me what I was telling them last night, and how much it freaked them out. And like, I started getting a bit upset, to be fair. So I comes out the room, and I gans like up the top of the stairs out the way, and I gans around the corner, like on where this roof thing was, this like, you know, where you can look down. And I rang Paula. And she's like, all right, now have a good time and that. And I start getting upset. I say, I don't know what's going on with this. She's going, what's the matter? And I explained to her, I says, I've said this, said that. She's like, all right. She says, well, calm down. I says, I know, but it's kind of mad. Like, I says, I'm getting this like weird feeling. I says, I didn't know what it is. And I'm just starting to tell people stuff. And then she says, well, enjoy your holiday. And when you come back, just go to like somewhere that does like spiritualism, like spiritualist church or whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah. So anyway, that was that. And then rest of the holiday, I was just telling people all sorts when I'd had a drink. Then I came home.
History.
Aye. And then I went to a spiritualist church a couple of times. I didn't really feel massively comfortable there, I'll be honest. I know everyone's got their own opinions.
Can I just say, sorry to interrupt, I yesterday had Lee on the show. Now, I've been friends with Lee since last year. I didn't have a very good experience with spiritual church, and he was saying there is a lot of egos in spiritual church, and I am always a little bit cautious, not dissing them, but I'm always a bit cautious about them. I wasn't greeted with open arms. Anyway,
well, that's funny that what you've just said is what I felt. Yeah. And but I still went, and it was a Saturday night, right, that I used to go to this church, right. Now I used to work as a doorman. Which I've left out, but I used to work as a doorman, and then I used to run a couple of doors in South Shields as well, like a nightclub and a bar and stuff. I used to be like a head doorman, where I used to organise everything. And obviously we've all been out drinking and stuff. And like, it was just crazy that like, I've went from doing all of that to then I'm walking along, right, to this church in a town, in a city. And all of these people are drinking. And like out having a laugh and they're walking past us, and I'm just, you know, got my coat on. It was the winter months, and I'm walking to this spiritualist church, and I'm like, you know, when you get that like sort of epiphany of like, I can't believe I'm going and doing this, and like everyone, you know. But I was driven.
360, life's changed.
Yeah, I wanted to like, I needed to go, so I went, and I tried to stand up a few times, but my confidence was just not there, and I just felt as if like, you know, when you feel like isolated, like you're just on your own and you're looking stupid, and people are looking at you as if like you're stupid, and you're feeling that, yeah. So on a Sunday evening, there was a special like a guest, you know, when they stand up on the whatever it is podium, and there was a guy come. I think he was called Lee. I think, and when I was in the church as well, anyone who was doing like the sort of standing up and doing the talking and that, mediums, they all come over to us, and they were all saying the same thing on separate days, separate weeks, like totally different people, but they all said the same thing. They'd come over to us and they'd gone, you can connect. And I used to think that when I had readings and stuff that they'd just see it, you know what I mean, just to fill the time out. But there was more and more people saying it to us, and I was like, this is weird. They're not saying it to anyone else. It can't be just me.
They're seeing something in you, weren't they?
Yeah. And there was one guy that came to us from Newcastle, eldish fella, and he was like, oh, I can see it. Like joking on, he was saying, oh, I can see a lot of money around you. He says, I hope you give me some. I went, what do you mean? He says, your mediumship. He says, it's going to really take off. So I'm sitting going, thinking, you would, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I'd see you in lights. I can see you being really busy and like, you know. And anyway, so I went to this like extra thing on a Sunday night the next day. So I goes to the church, and this guy's talking about different things and about how upset he was with the way things was running at his church and all that, which is ironic. And it was his last show he was going to be doing as well for the churches. And he come over to me and he says, can I come to you with a blue T-shirt? And I went, yeah. He says, are you in training? And I went, no. Like, no one's suggested there is or try to, like, you know, help us. I went, but I am trying to read books with his having dyslexia as a struggle. He went, well, keep it up. He says, because I can see you doing well, right? So everyone's turning, looking at us like, you know, so you're feeling a bit awkward. And at the end, I thought, I'm definitely coming out and asking you, like, where he's learnt, you know? So I goes over to him, and he says, I learned through Durham, blah, blah, blah. He says, my mum took us to this lady, and she talked to us about what was going on with us, because I thought I was going crazy. And I'd started from there. He says, there's a course actually coming up soon. It's at Ferry Hill. If you ring this lady here, Carol, she'll book you on. It's not until a couple of months. So I rang her. I booked in with her. And then I went to Ferry Hill Community Centre, where it was, with a guy called John Patterson, who was running the course. Well, he come in with shorts on, like a Hawaiian shorts and a crazy T-shirt. And he sat down and he's talking away to us, right? And I'm talking away to him and like, all right, how you doing, and all that, and having a laugh and all that. There was like more women than men, but that's not unusual. And I'm like having a crack on with him and that. And he's like, oh, have you been doing it long and all this? And I just thought he was another one that was like coming to learn. Do you know what I mean? And he stands up and he's like, right, thanks everyone for coming. I'm John Patterson. And I'm like, because I'm expecting someone with a suit. Do you know what I mean? Like what you see in the churches.
Yeah.
And he really helped me. He really helped us massively. And every week we were doing different things. And then there was one week we had flowers and we had to describe to the left person to us what we can see in them through this flower. And this girl like left of me. She didn't come back, actually, bless her. And it upset us, actually. But the bottom of the flower, it was a rose and it had loads of spikes coming out of it, you know, the thorns. And then it was all clear. And I says, I feel with this flower, because you never forget these things, do you, when you're first starting out? I says, this flower, I says, I'm getting like your childhood is this and da 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 da. Oh, and I says, but things is good now. I says, things is where you know, and she just got really upset. And John had to have a word with her out the back, and she's like, you know, she was very emotional, so like she never came back. But obviously I sort of put that on me at the time, because I was like, oh, I know it wasn't. It was obviously
unhealed
just
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you've got to be very careful.
Should have gone on if it's a
path.
path.
Sure. Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And so that was 1 week, and then another week he says, right, we're going to do spiritual photography. I just bought a camera, right, a Canon D6, which I've still got to this day. right? I seen somebody selling it. My friend was into photography, and I was really interested in photography, and I thought, I'm going to buy a camera. And I kept looking. Anyway, somebody was selling one on Gumtree, and I went and had a look at the camera, and I just bought it straight away. And because it's a professional camera, it's the type of ones that you use for like weddings and stuff. And I was like, messing about with it and learning how it worked and that, and depth of field and things like that. And John said, "Oh, we're going to do spiritual photography next week." And I was like, "All right." I says, "I've got a professional camera, John. I've only had it like 2 weeks or whatever." He went, "Well, could you bring it along?" And I went, "Yeah." I said, "I'll bring my laptop along, and then you can have a look at the photos and that." Because I asked him what he was doing. He said, "Well, we'll see if there's orbs around you and whatever else." He says, "Have you got like a black fleece blanket or something like that? Maybe it's like lying about that you could bring as well." I went, "Yeah." So anyway, I brought this black fleece blanket, a bit similar to the one in the background, which I've still got now and I still use. And I brought the blanket, and we put it up, and we just took photos of everyone who was there. And I didn't see anything in my photo at all. And it was the following week. I was sitting, and when you've just got some time to yourself, and you're just like sitting there, and you just, I don't know if bored's the right word. I thought, I'm gonna have another look through my photo. Now, you remember when I was saying about what my dog Jason? I'll see if I can turn this around. That is the photo.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And that's me dog. And that's what I seen. That was the first thing that I could see. And I couldn't draw it at the time.
Oh, right.
Because I didn't have the technology.
Yeah.
I just outlined it with my phone. And that was me nana as well. Right?
Wow.
But that's where it started.
Wow.
And I looked and I thought,
I was just going to say, is that where your artist? So what do you do? Get people to send you photographs then?
No, if I'm reading somebody online, see if I was reading you now, for an example, as we're talking away, I would screenshot you, right? So I'd just take a screenshot of my phone, and I would send it to me iPad, right? And then I would have a look around you.
Well, go on then, do it, and you can send me it later.
I kind of flip the camera around though, and I've got wires hanging off the phone, so right. I might disconnect them. Okay. But basically, that's what I do. I can do it at a later date, obviously, just not on this app.
Yes.
Because I need to flip it round. But anyway, so
I've actually got some really good pictures I could send you. I've got some really good ones that you'd like. That have got some fantastic stuff on them.
I send them. So anyway, because I'll forget. So I screenshot people, and then I'll have a look around them, and then I'll draw whatever I see, and I would see in 97% of the time, people pull photos out and gone, I can't believe you just drew that, and it's me granddad or whoever, and that's that's me fast forwarding it, but that's how it started with me. I don't know whether I've got an agreement with Spirit because I want as much validation as the person that I'm reading for, and I think drawing their loved ones swayed it for me. And there's been many a time. I remember one lady I read, and I says, "Oh, do your mum have long hair?" Because I could see long hair. She went, No, she never ever had long hair. And when some people are hell bent, they're absolutely hell bent on no. She went, "No, definitely not," and all that. And I was like, "All right, whatever." So turn away and saying, "But does this make sense?" So yeah. Anyway, I think it was one of the last house parties I ever did, actually. I think this was the last one because I just decided, no more. I'm not going out to people's house because my tolerance level's just, very low now. And anyway, she gets a photo out of her mum, and she looked like her out the Carpenters. Like an old photo with a long, dark hair. And the woman that I drew had long, dark hair. I am not kidding you, Mel. It was an absolute spitting double of her. And
wow.
She didn't even realise, and I says, "Oh, earlier." She went, "Yeah." I says, about your mum, about having long hair, and she went, "Yeah." And I says, "You said no, definitely not." And she went, "Oh, yeah, but that was only a certain time in her life when she had long hair."
I hate it when people do that.
Do you know what else I hate as well? And I had it the other night. Have you lost your granddad, mum's side? No, yeah, but he died ages ago.
That doesn't mean they're not going to come through, is it?
Well, it mustn't be him because obviously there must be a time limit on when somebody passes. I don't know. I can be quite sarcastic with people sometimes when the cousin is a little bit of when they're being cheeky with me, I can be but I got bullied as a kid. I think you sort of become hardened, didn't you, to like being able to react to people very fast.
I work on a basis of I will match your energy.
Well,
so if I'm reading somebody and they say no, you know that them saying no is not true because they're telling you something different. So I say to them, right, okay, then I give them something else and they'll go no, and then I'll give them something else and they'll say no, and I go, right, I'm going to rebook you because clearly it's not for you. And they'll go, no, I can take it, I just didn't want to hear from them. So I'm like, right, okay.
I didn't rebook people
so
in me.
So what is, before I let you obviously toddle off in a few minutes, can I just quickly ask you, what is your most favourite one and what's your one that you remember the most?
I can't believe how fast this time's went over.
I know. We could do another show later on in the week.
The craziest one that I ever did was probably the first ever practice run I did, and that was in the spiritual circle that I was training with John and a lady who I was reading, lovely lass. I was sitting with her. She was really, honestly, so funny. And I started talking about her late husband and what he used to always wear. No, the first one was when I was reading in the circle in front of everyone, and I seen this gentleman in the grass actually. But that was a mad one. There's loads, but this one was crazy. And one after 2 seconds. I've had a drink of water. So I was reading this girl, and I went through it. I described her husband, and I described like what he used to do, and he used to play darts and loads of things. And she was like, yeah, like, you know, when you see that astonishment on their face. And I went through her house. Like, I actually went in her front door in my mind, and it had welcome to me sweet home on the front of her, like, stairs, you know? Like, she had, like, a laminate, like, sort of on the fascias of the stairs, and then bits of carpet, and then a fascia, carpet fascia. And I went up the stairs, and I went back on myself, and I described the banister and things like that. And then I went through this door. I'm visualising it now. And it had different bits of carpet. Like, it had, like, a green carpet or something inside of the wardrobe. Like, to what the carpet was outside. Like, it was just put in, do you know what I mean? Like, big, like, open, slidey wardrobes or whatever. And I went into this wardrobe, and I went down, and I could see this box. And I says, there's a box in the wardrobe, and it's from your late husband, and you've never seen it. And I says, inside of it, there's like pen knives, and there's like a pocket watch and some watches and a photo of him. And she was like, really? But she was like sort of still a bit, because like she was like that when I described her house. But she was a bit, I would have found that box, you know what I mean? And it was near my birthday, actually, and I messaged her. I kept texting her all the time because obviously we become close friends, and I was like, "Have you been in that box yet?" And she's like, "No, but I will," because she was really busy. She had loads of different jobs and doing all sorts of stuff. So anyway, I think it was. I don't know if it was Chris. I don't know if it was on my birthday or the day after, because we were in Newcastle with my wife. And she sent us a photo of the box with all the stuff in, and she just put underneath it. I cannot believe that everything you've just said is in this box, and it's as if you've been in my house. Everything you said and described about my house, she couldn't believe it. So that was like the confirmation for me to realise, like that was when I got to the point where I thought, this is really happening to me. Like, there's something really, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just clarification. Because you do doubt yourself, let's be honest. You know, for years I still thought, we
do, but I think it's other people that doubt us. It's other people's
energy.
It's that make us question sometimes. And then I surprise myself and I go, oh my God. Yeah, I get that.
Do you not think, though, when you have somebody giving off that aura, that energy of like when you're around people all the time who's got that feeling inside of them that they just didn't believe you, do you not think that gets pushed onto you? So that, like, you might walk into a room
to prove
confident.
More.
No, like, do you know when you're like happy and you've got a skip in your step, and then it might be your partner or your child or whatever, but someone is in a one and they just instantly put you into a mood because of the way they're acting.
Yeah.
Do you not think when people are coming into a room with you to have a reading, and they've just got this massive cloud of doubt and disbelief, and the wanting to prove you wrong, do you not think we pick that up?
Oh, completely. We have to, because there's energy transfer. We have to.
And then when you've got like 5 or 6 people maybe in an audience of a show, like you start feeling doubtful, but you were so positive when you came. Like, so I might go to a show and I'm like skipping along and having a laugh and just feeling like the energy's there, and then I come to a certain table of doubters, and then my energy goes, oh. But I think naturally as well, instinctively.
Oh, they bring you down. Yeah, they bring you down.
I think you know, but I think you'll come away from it as well. I think when people have got that attitude towards you, I think we own in on it, and I think we'll come away, like, which is bad for the person who's portraying that, because if they're giving off that energy, like, nobody wants to be around someone who's negative and doubtful and just got like, and and then if they continue that energy throughout their life, I think that's probably how they have that bad response. You know, you get people who on live or whatever, and they'll say, well, I've never ever had a reading. Like, I've tried a few times, and they've said they can't read this. And
I think people close themselves off. I absolutely think.
But do you not think it gets stronger as well? Do you not think they get stronger at closing themselves off because they're practicing it all the time? So the more readings they try and have, the worse that it gets. Because I don't know if you're the same, but if I get like a horrible churn in my stomach when I'm trying to read someone, or if they're being cheeky with us, it's as if somebody just flicks a light switch and it's just gone. I just cannot get anything for them. Like, and I had a girl the other day.
Agree.
Aye, well, I had a girl the other day. I said, look, just send us your details. I'll transfer you back straight away. I went because this ain't working. And like, but where before when I first started out, the hard ones, or I don't know if you want to call it the hard ones, the negative people, like, are the ones who were very doubtful, or they just were getting distracted and they weren't listening, and they're just like, they're the ones who's going to slag you off. They're not going to say, oh, it was because of me and I was distracted and I wasn't listening to him and I was just walking about. It's like they're going to go, well, I thought he was naked, I thought he was crap, whatever. And I've learned to like realise that, like, I didn't want them on my resume. I'd rather just not have them booked in. And like, I mean, Lisa, who I'm helping a lot at the moment, who's starting to do readings, I had a conversation with her on the phone the other day, and I said, like, Lisa, you've got to cut these people off, you know, because I've done a show, and when I was describing this reading I was trying to do with a girl, and I says, look, I'm not begging you to have a reading office, I'll walk away now if you want, in front of the show. It turned out it was the same person that she was having a hard time with in a reading, and which was mad.
You've got to protect your energy, and I did Hillsborough Arena. And it was all set out lovely, and there was 2 tables at the side, and both tables at the side were prickly characters. And there was a young girl, there was 4 people sat on this one table. She was crying her eyes out. She was drinking a lot, and I don't always get involved with people that have had too much to drink, because them being drunk and me doing spiritual, I don't think mixes, because of how they received the message. But I did go over at the beginning and say to her, I've got a lady. She went, no, like this to me straight away. And I went, oh, sorry. And she went, I don't want to speak to her. I've only come to speak to one person. And then I tried to go to her a bit later on, and she said the same. But what she didn't know is that this lady was bringing through her father. Okay, this girl's father had been buried that day. But by the time I got to the end of the session, she was that drunk, I wouldn't even tell her. Because she started to say to me, I wanted to speak to my dad. Why did my dad not come through? So I gave my number and I went, ring me tomorrow.
Did you ring her?
She rang me, and I said to her, if you ever go see a medium again, go with an open heart. Accept what you've been given, because they don't lie to us. But there was a woman on TikTok that said, if a medium can't connect your energy, they're rubbish. And I nearly commented and went, that's absolutely utter rubbish, because people will block your energy. It works. Energy transfer is real. And if, like, exactly what you've just said, if somebody's been a dick, we can feel it.
See, to me, I was trying to explain this to someone the other day who's claiming to be a medium and was ranting on, and like he's quite a troubled person, shall we say, bless him. But I was trying to explain that, like, because he's under the impression, which is what you've just said as well with that girl, they're under the impression, I think, that it's a switch and we should know the answer to everything. It's as if, like, switch the light on and that's it. It's not a switch. It's like, to me anyway, it's like a tap that's just dripping and then it slowly gets faster and faster. Or it's a dimmer switch on a light. It's like, to me, it comes in like slowly, and then whenever anybody I've ever read, right, ever, I've never instantly got bang, 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 bang. It's like I get a little bit, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then it builds up. Like you kind of build the Empire State Building by just like getting a massive spaceship to just drop it over a helicopter. Like, you know what I mean? It's brick by brick.
And then it's the finale at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like putting all of these jigsaw pieces together, but people don't see it that way. But I mean, you know, everyone's got different perceptions, and I understand that, and everybody reads different as well. But to me, in my own opinion, which is like governed because it's my opinion, I believe that it comes in slow, and you've got to like wait until. And sometimes I've tell people stuff a lot of the time, and they'll message us later on, and they'll go, "Hey, Steve, you said this, and this."
Yeah.
And like I didn't realise at the time, but now I do. Like, because that made sense with that. Do you know what?
When I do live readings on TikTok and I give somebody something and they say, I can't take it, I'll go, message me in 10 minutes when you've remembered. And they do. But you're right, it is like a tap. It is like a tap. But what the way I've always described it is, it's like being in the biggest Witherspoons you've ever been in, where there's hundreds of people drinking and you're trying to focus on one conversation at the other side of the pub.
It is,
and you can hear lots of other that is how I've always described it.
It is, but you're right, because it's the same with people as well.
What you've got to remember is their energy is what opens the communication. So if they say to you, if they don't speak, if you say something to them and you say, can you resonate? And they go, you're not giving me anything. I need you to say yes. I need to feel your vibration in order for more messages to come through. And it is energy. It works that way.
Without a doubt. But obviously when you haven't, like, I know everybody's like, well, not everyone, but you have people who like are not really mediums, and they like portray like, and they give this impression of like something because they're not real mediums, they didn't understand. But anyone who's a true medium, in my opinion, would see exactly the same as what me and you were saying, because they've witnessed and felt what we are talking about. But the problem with like some people, as we know out there, they're given this false sort of information, which is giving people an impression that it's like, oh, you should be able to just like put your hand in a hat and pick and choose who's going to come through. Because, you know, we've brought people through who's been abusive in a lot of different ways to people who they've not wanted them to come through. But you cannot stop that. If they're going to come through, they'll say, oh, well, I didn't really want that person coming through. And I do my best not to have any more connection with that person, obviously.
Yeah.
But you cannot help it. You can't help them coming through at first. Like, if they come through and, like you mentioned, and describe them and they're going, oh, that was him and he done that, I didn't want to speak to him. And I'm like, right, no problem. And usually in my head, I'll say, off, you horrible, da-da-da-da-da. And then, but you cannot help it. It's just, you're not in control. Like, we are not in control of what we're going to give to somebody. Like people will say to me, like, oh, you'll be all right in this show. Because I'll be honest, sometimes when I'm nervous, I'll tell people, I say, I'm really nervous, you know? Like, it's really hard. Like, in the audience.
You never know what's coming. It's a bag of revels. You never know
because
you
cannot rehearse something that you're not, like, you're going to say to a total stranger about somebody who doesn't exist anymore in the earth plane. Right? And like, but they didn't like, oh, you'll be all right. And I'll say, well, do you want to stand up and have a No. I said it the other night. Aye, it is, and it's really, really hard. But people didn't see it that way. They're just like, well, you're up there. You should be able to tell me. Like, I've just had a girl message me this morning. I think I've already said it earlier in this podcast.
Yeah.
And she said to us, I'm really gutted that you didn't get anything for us. Like, what does she want us to do? Rewind time and then come back to her. Yeah. It's like, right, okay. Shall I stop doing shows then? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because I didn't read you. But do you not think as well, though, a lot of people, like, feel as if the world orientates around them?
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I know that sounds really awful, but that's the downside of what we do. I had somebody message me at early hours of the morning and say, it was a bank holiday weekend, and say, I'm struggling, can you give me a reading? And I was out drinking, which I don't normally respond to. And I went, Can you message me tomorrow? No, my friend said that you'd speak to me now. And I said, I can't, I'm out, I'm celebrating, whatever. And she was really rude, she swore at me. And I just thought, I'm human. I'm not on your call, I'm not on your beck and call. So this is why I've had to become quite heartless. Not heartless, that's the wrong word.
Well, no, you get forced into it.
We have to have boundaries, because you're absolutely right. And I say this, if you've got the guts, and there's a lot of mediums that won't do it, if we've got the guts to stand in front of an audience of people we've never met and just trust the divine is going to take us to where we're supposed to be, then we've got big balls. There's a lot of people that won't do that. But at the end of my show,
It's
I always
hard.
say, has anybody got any questions? Then they run for you. You're like,
Oh,
no, we should have said
do you know,
We've had
do you
this
know
combo
what?
already.
I say it to people every show at the end. I say, right, I'm really sorry, but if you've got any questions you want to ask us, because they've been drinking, I say, if there's anything you want to ask us about anything I do, I said, just drop us a message. I says, because I'm not being rude. I says, but if you come over and try to talk to us, I says, I've got like nearly an hour to put my equipment down, put it in my car, pack everything up properly so I know where everything is. Then I've got to travel home. I says, so I cannot sit here. I says, because if one of you comes over and starts talking to us, there'll be a queue behind you. And how do I know that? Because I've had it that many times in other shows. People still come over to us, right? And I keep saying, email us, and they'll go, I know, but can you not just have a look at it? I'm like, no. But I just didn't get it. I didn't buy into it anymore. I just gone, like, it probably gives people the wrong impression of us. They're probably like gone, he's arrogant, or ignorant or whatever else. But I'm protecting my energy because there was one show I went to, I was sitting at like, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning after a show when I first ever started out talking to people, and they were sitting waffling on, and like they'd had a drink, and they'll get up in the morning and they'll have forgotten every single thing what was said.
I know.
And do you know what is as
I
well?
don't like. Yeah.
I haven't had anybody yet, right, at any show that I've did, and I've done a lot of shows, messages off the back of the show. So like it just goes to show all of that time I would have wasted, like sitting talking and explaining to people. It's like I'm doing an extra show within the show. So I just say messages. If you didn't messages, and I'll answer you online because I really need to pack my stuff away. And I don't lie, I really do.
I don't like them when they've had a lot to drink. I don't enjoy it when they've had a lot to drink. And I don't like people that. I don't like that. And I've been invited around to people's houses to do stuff, and they're like, oh, we'll have a girls' night, we'll have champagne. No, we're not doing that. I'll come, I'll do something for a couple of hours, but I'm not going to stay while you all sit and
definitely not,
because it'll end up in tears before you know.
I do not read people. When people are drunk, like they're like, if I do come to them, they're reading.
And
I
won't read if I've had a drink.
I just cut them. If I was going to read somebody for like 10 minutes in a show and they're like intoxicated, that 10 minutes has went down to probably a minute and 30 seconds, because they agree with everything you've said, and then they start arguing with you at the end. And they're getting upset, and so I do not mix.
Not worth it.
I mean, people are having a few drinks just to settle the nerves, fair enough. But when people are like spoiling it for everyone else because they're just getting palato, I just think them are the ones who are selfish because they wouldn't get drunk either.
Then they start crying.
So do you want to send me this podcast, and I'll edit it for you?
Yes, thank you very much. So we'll say goodbye to everybody. We'll do our goodbyes, and thank you very much to everybody that's watched us. There'll be a few little glitches because we had a few little glitches going on, but we are raw. It comes as it is, and we're not going to mess around with all these fancy bells and music. It's us as it is. But listen, Stephen, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Can we do another one? Can we do another one soon?
Not a problem.
And we'll put the will to right.
And when I say I'm going to do
I've got some really interesting ones. Listen, thank you very much for joining us. Stay on. And we'll thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Bye now. Bye.
Bye, guys.